Everyone knows Lamine Yamal as the teenage superstar lighting up stadiums around the world. But here's the unbelievable part. Before he was breaking records for Barcelona and becoming one of Spain's biggest stars, he was just a young boy kicking a football through the narrow streets of a working-class neighborhood where very few people believed the next global football icon could be born. And what if I told you that before turning 20, many people were already talking about him as one of the players who could define the FIFA World Cup 2026? That's an incredible amount of pressure for someone who is still a teenager. So how did he get here? What made him so special? And could he really become the face of football's biggest tournament? To understand that, we have to go back to where it all began. Lamine Yamal was born on July 13, 2007, in Esplugues de Llobregat, near Barcelona, Spain. His father is from Morocco, and his mother is from Equatorial Guinea. Growing up in a multicultural family gave him a unique identity and connected him to different cultures from an early age. His parents separated when he was still very young. Like many children, he had to grow up between different homes while his parents worked hard to give him opportunities they never had. It wasn't always easy, but one thing never changed: his love for football. Much of his childhood was spent in Rocafonda, a modest neighborhood in the city of Mataró. It wasn't famous for producing football legends. It was simply home. The streets became his first football pitch, and every wall, curb, and empty space became part of his training ground. If you've ever wondered why some footballers seem so comfortable in tight spaces, this is often where it starts. Playing against older kids on small streets forces young players to think faster, react quicker, and protect the ball under constant pressure. Without realizing it, Lamine was developing skills that would later amaze millions of fans. People around him quickly noticed something unusual. He wasn't just faster than the other kids. He saw passes that nobody else could see. He dribbled without fear. He played with confidence far beyond his age. Local coaches began talking about the talented boy who always seemed to make the impossible look easy. But talent alone doesn't create a superstar. At just 7 years old, Lamine Yamal received an opportunity that every young footballer in Spain dreams about. He was invited to join La Masia, FC Barcelona's legendary youth academy. This wasn't just another football school. La Masia is where some of the greatest players in football history learned their craft. Legends like Lionel Messi, Xavi, Andrés Iniesta, Sergio Busquets, and many others developed there before becoming global icons. For most children, joining La Masia is already an incredible achievement. For Lamine Yamal, it was only the beginning. From his very first training sessions, coaches realized they were watching someone different. His first touch looked effortless. His dribbling seemed natural. More importantly, he played without fear. Imagine being surrounded by hundreds of the best young footballers in Spain, all competing for the same dream. Every training session is a test. Every match could decide your future. Most players struggle under that pressure. Lamine seemed to enjoy it. As the years passed, he climbed through Barcelona's youth teams faster than almost anyone expected. Coaches often challenged him by letting him play against older opponents. Instead of struggling, he continued to impress. That ability to compete against bigger, stronger, and more experienced players would later become one of the biggest reasons football experts believed he could shine on the world's biggest stage. And as the FIFA World Cup 2026 approached, many fans began asking the same question. Could this teenager become Spain's biggest weapon on football's biggest stage? At the time, nobody knew the answer. But one thing was becoming impossible to ignore. Football had found its next extraordinary talent. Everyone at La Masia dreamed of one thing: wearing Barcelona's first-team jersey. Thousands of young players entered the academy over the years, but only a tiny percentage ever reached the biggest stage. Most talented kids disappeared before anyone outside the academy even learned their names. Lamine Yamal was different. The coaches weren't just impressed by his goals or assists. They were amazed by the way he understood the game. While most teenagers focused on beating one defender, Lamine was already thinking 2 or 3 passes ahead. He seemed to know where his teammates would be before they even got there. That's the kind of football intelligence you can't easily teach. As he moved through Barcelona's youth teams, his reputation spread quickly. Opponents doubled up on him. Defenders tried to kick him off the ball. Coaches built entire game plans around stopping one teenager. It rarely worked. His left foot became his biggest weapon. Starting on the right wing, he would glide past defenders before cutting inside toward goal. To fans, it looked effortless. To defenders, it was a nightmare. Soon, Barcelona's first-team coaches couldn't ignore him anymore. In 2023, something extraordinary happened. At just 15 years old, Lamine Yamal was called up to train with Barcelona's senior squad. Imagine being a teenager walking into a dressing room filled with world-class professionals you had watched on television only a few years earlier. Many young players become nervous in moments like this. Lamine didn't. He played with the same confidence he had shown on the streets of Rocafonda. Then came the moment that changed everything. On April 29, 2023, Barcelona manager Xavi Hernandez made a bold decision. With Barcelona leading late in a league match, he sent 15-year-old Lamine Yamal onto the pitch. In that instant, history was made. Lamine became one of the youngest players ever to appear for Barcelona's first team. Most teenagers would simply try not to make a mistake. Lamine almost scored within minutes. His confidence shocked everyone watching. He demanded the ball. He attacked experienced defenders without hesitation. He looked like he belonged. Fans immediately started asking the same question. Who is this kid? Over the next season, the answer became clearer with every match. He wasn't just another academy graduate. He was becoming Barcelona's newest superstar. His dribbling thrilled crowds. His vision created chances out of nowhere. His maturity surprised experienced coaches. Even under enormous pressure, he continued playing with freedom. Of course, with that success came comparisons. Whenever a young left-footed Barcelona winger bursts onto the scene, one name is impossible to avoid: Lionel Messi. The comparisons appeared everywhere, on television, social media, and in newspapers around the world. But comparisons can be dangerous. Football history is full of teenagers called the next Messi, who never fulfilled those impossible expectations. Lamine chose a different path. Instead of trying to become the next Messi, he focused on becoming the first Lamine Yamal. That mindset earned respect inside Barcelona's dressing room. Veteran players encouraged him. Coaches carefully managed his development. They understood that extraordinary talent also needed patience. Still, records kept falling. Every few weeks, headlines announced another milestone. Youngest player, youngest starter, youngest goal scorer, youngest assist provider. It seemed like every time Lamine stepped onto the pitch, another piece of history belonged to him. But club football was only half of the story. The Spanish national team was watching closely. Spain had won the FIFA World Cup in 2010 with a legendary generation led by players like Xavi, Andrés Iniesta, and Sergio Busquets. Since then, the country had searched for its next global superstar. Many believed they had finally found him. When Spain called Lamine Yamal into the senior national team while he was still only 16 years old, millions of fans couldn't wait to see what would happen. No one expected what came next. Within minutes of making his international debut, he scored. Just like that, he became the youngest goal scorer in the history of Spain's national team. It wasn't just another record. It was a message to the football world. A new generation had arrived. And suddenly, conversations about the FIFA World Cup 2026 became much more exciting. If Lamine could perform like this as a teenager, what could he become by the time football's biggest tournament arrived? Some believed he could simply be part of Spain's squad. Others believed he could become its biggest star. But before anyone could answer that question, another tournament would change his life forever. The UEFA European Championship. It was there that Lamine Yamal would prove he wasn't just football's brightest young prospect. He was already ready for the biggest stage. Everyone knew Lamine Yamal was talented. But talent and greatness are two different things. The biggest question was simple. Could a teenager handle the pressure of an international tournament watched by hundreds of millions of people? The UEFA Euro 2024 would answer that question. Spain entered the tournament with a young, energetic squad. They weren't considered overwhelming favorites like some legendary teams from the past. Many experts expected them to compete, but few predicted that one of the tournament's biggest stars would be a 16-year-old winger. Lamine didn't seem to care about the expectations. From his very first match, he played with incredible confidence. He attacked defenders one-on-one, created chances for his teammates, and showed the kind of maturity usually seen in players with hundreds of professional games. Imagine being 16 years old. Now imagine walking into a packed stadium with more than 70,000 fans, millions watching on television, and the weight of an entire nation on your shoulders. Most teenagers would freeze. Lamine played as if he were in his neighborhood park. Match after match, Spain grew stronger. So did Lamine's reputation. Commentators around the world couldn't stop talking about him. Former players praised his decision-making. Coaches admired his confidence. Fans fell in love with his fearless style. Then came the semifinal. Spain faced France, one of the strongest teams in world football. Early in the match, Spain fell behind. For many young players, that moment would have been overwhelming. Instead, Lamine produced one of the greatest goals ever scored by a teenager in a major international tournament. Receiving the ball outside the penalty area, he shifted it onto his famous left foot and curled a stunning shot into the top corner. The goalkeeper didn't move. The stadium exploded. That goal wasn't just beautiful. It became one of the defining moments of Euro 2024. Suddenly, the football world wasn't asking whether Lamine Yamal was special. They were asking just how great he could become. Spain went on to reach the final. Waiting for them was England, another football giant filled with world-class stars. The pressure couldn't have been higher. Yet once again, Lamine looked completely at home. He created dangerous attacks, stretched England's defense, and played with the confidence of someone twice his age. When the final whistle blew, Spain were champions of Europe. Lamine Yamal had become one of the youngest players ever to win a major international trophy. He also received the tournament's Young Player Award, confirming what millions of fans had already realized. Football had found its next superstar. But here's something many people don't realize. Winning a major tournament at such a young age can actually make life harder. Suddenly, every defender knows your name. Every coach builds plans to stop you. Every mistake becomes front-page news. And every great performance creates even bigger expectations. People began comparing him with legends. Some called him the next Lionel Messi. Others believed he could become Spain's greatest player since Andres Iniesta. But Lamine stayed calm. He repeatedly said he wanted to create his own story, not copy someone else's. That attitude impressed people just as much as his football. He continued working, training, and improving instead of chasing headlines. And as his fame grew, one tournament started appearing in almost every conversation. The FIFA World Cup 2026. For Spain, the tournament represents something much bigger than another chance to win a trophy. Their last World Cup title came in 2010. A new generation has been waiting to write its own chapter in football history. Many believe Lamine Yamal could be the player who leads that chapter. By the summer of 2026, he will be older, stronger, and far more experienced than the teenager who amazed the world at Euro 2024. He'll have more seasons with Barcelona, more Champions League matches, and more international experience. That makes the World Cup especially exciting, because for the first time, fans won't just see Lamine as a promising young talent. They'll see him as one of Spain's biggest hopes. Of course, football doesn't guarantee happy endings. The World Cup is the toughest tournament in the sport. Every match is filled with pressure. Every mistake can end a nation's dream. Legends like Cristiano Ronaldo never won it. Even Lionel Messi had to wait until the end of his career to lift the trophy. So can Lamine Yamal succeed where so many great players struggled? That's the question millions of fans around the world will be asking as the countdown to FIFA World Cup 2026 continues. And his journey is only getting started. But here's where Lamine Yamal's story becomes even more fascinating. Many football legends spend years trying to earn the trust of an entire nation. Lamine had to carry those expectations before he was even old enough to vote in many countries. After Euro 2024, everything changed. He was no longer just Barcelona's wonder kid. He became one of the biggest names in world football. Every time Spain announced its squad, fans immediately looked for one name: Lamine Yamal. Every time Barcelona played, cameras followed his every touch. Sponsors wanted him. Media outlets wanted interviews. Millions of children around the world started copying his dribbles on playgrounds. That's the price of becoming a global superstar. The challenge wasn't proving he was talented anymore. The challenge was proving he could do it again, and again, and again. The greatest players aren't remembered for one amazing season. They're remembered because they perform year after year. That's exactly what Lamine needed to show as the road to the FIFA World Cup 2026 began. The World Cup is different from every other football tournament. It only happens once every 4 years. There are no second chances. One bad game can send an entire nation home. One magical moment can make a player immortal. Just think about some of football's greatest names. Pelé became a global icon by winning the World Cup as a teenager. Diego Maradona's performances in 1986 are still talked about decades later. Zinedine Zidane inspired France in 1998. And Lionel Messi completed his legendary career by lifting the trophy in 2022. That's the standard. That's the history. And now, many people wonder if Lamine Yamal could write the next chapter. By 2026, he won't be the inexperienced teenager who surprised everyone at Euro 2024. He'll arrive with years of experience playing against the best defenders in Europe. He'll have played hundreds of high-pressure matches for Barcelona and Spain. More importantly, he'll understand what it takes to win. Spain also enters a new era. The team combines experienced leaders with fearless young talent. Players like Pedri, Gavi, Nico Williams, and others have helped build an exciting new generation around Lamine. Instead of relying on one superstar, Spain aims to play fast, technical, possession-based football, the style that made them world champions in 2010. And Lamine fits that system perfectly. His ability to beat defenders creates space for everyone else. His vision turns ordinary attacks into dangerous opportunities. And perhaps his greatest strength is something statistics can't measure: fearlessness. Some players become more cautious under pressure. Lamine often becomes even more confident. That mindset could become one of Spain's biggest weapons in the World Cup. But football has a way of testing every great player. Defenders now study his every movement. Coaches spend hours analyzing how to stop him. Opponents know exactly which foot he prefers. The surprise factor is gone. Now comes the hardest part: continuing to evolve. The world's greatest players never stay the same. They adapt. They add new skills. They become smarter every season. If Lamine continues improving at the same pace, many experts believe he could become one of the best players in the world. Still, it's important to remember one thing: no player wins a World Cup alone. Football is the ultimate team sport. Even the greatest legends needed teammates, great coaches, and a little bit of luck. Spain's success in 2026 won't depend only on Lamine Yamal. It will depend on the entire squad staying healthy, working together, and performing under enormous pressure. That doesn't make Lamine's role any less important. In fact, it makes it even more exciting. Because every time he receives the ball, millions of fans will believe something special might happen. A brilliant dribble, perfect assist, a stunning goal. Those are the moments that define World Cups. Those are the moments children remember for the rest of their lives. And those are the moments Lamine Yamal dreams of creating. The question isn't whether he has the talent. He's already proven that. The real question is whether he can turn incredible potential into football immortality. Only the FIFA World Cup 2026 can answer that. People often ask one simple question: what makes Lamine Yamal so special? At first, the answer seems obvious: his speed, his dribbling, his incredible left foot. But if you watch him closely, you'll notice something even more impressive. He almost never looks rushed. The best footballers don't just react to the game. They seem to know what's about to happen before anyone else does. That's one of Lamine's greatest strengths. When defenders charge toward him, he doesn't panic. He waits. He studies their movement. Then, in a split second, he changes direction, slips past them, and suddenly Spain or Barcelona is attacking with numbers. To fans, it looks magical. To coaches, it's football intelligence. And that's much harder to teach than speed or strength. As his career has progressed, the records have continued to pile up. Youngest Barcelona debutant of his generation. Youngest Spain international goalscorer. One of the youngest players ever to make a major impact at the highest level of European football. These aren't just statistics. They're reminders that football is witnessing something incredibly rare. But every record also creates a new challenge. The higher you climb, the harder it becomes to stay there. Every season, expectations grow. Every match becomes another opportunity or another test. Can he stay healthy? Can he handle the pressure? Can he continue improving while the entire football world watches his every move? Those questions will follow him throughout his career. And yet, whenever people around him talk about Lamine, they often mention the same quality. Humility. Despite becoming one of the most recognizable young footballers on the planet, he continues to speak about his family, his teammates, and the neighborhood that shaped him. He hasn't forgotten Rocafonda. He hasn't forgotten where the journey began. That connection keeps him grounded, even as his fame continues to grow. Now imagine the scene. It's the summer of 2026. The stadium is packed. Billions of people around the world are watching the FIFA World Cup. Spain needs a moment of brilliance. The ball rolls toward Lamine Yamal. Everything slows down. One defender, then another. A quick touch. A burst of speed. One perfect left-footed strike. Moments like that are why people fall in love with football. No one knows exactly how the FIFA World Cup 2026 will unfold. Maybe Spain will lift the trophy. Maybe another nation will celebrate instead. That's the beauty of football. Nothing is guaranteed. But one thing feels certain. Lamine Yamal will be one of the players the entire world will be watching. His journey is still in its opening chapters. Most football legends spend years trying to reach the level he achieved before turning 20. Yet the biggest moments of his career may still be ahead of him. Perhaps he'll win multiple Champions League titles. Perhaps he'll fight for the Ballon d'Or. Perhaps he'll become one of Spain's greatest players. Or perhaps he'll inspire a new generation of children to believe that impossible dreams can become reality. Only time will tell. But whether you're a lifelong football fan or someone watching the sport for the very first time, Lamine Yamal's story is impossible to ignore. It's the story of a kid from a working-class neighborhood who dared to dream. A boy who joined La Masia with nothing but talent and determination. A teenager who broke records that many thought would stand for decades. A young star who helped Spain conquer Europe. And now, a player standing on the edge of football's biggest stage. The FIFA World Cup 2026 won't just be another tournament. For Lamine Yamal, it could become the moment that transforms a rising superstar into a global football legend. The next chapter hasn't been written yet. And that's exactly why the whole world will be watching. If you enjoyed discovering the incredible journey of Lamine Yamal and want more beginner-friendly football stories, World Cup explainers, and the biggest stories in the beautiful game, make sure to subscribe. Because the road to the FIFA World Cup 2026 is just getting started, and you won't want to miss what's coming next.